New York Giants fans, I know everyone is excited. I actually feel really good about the Giants' first two preseason games. But as we have it, it's time to talk about things that just might, be concerning, things we need to take a look at. We can celebrate and we can act as if the regular season is not coming. A regular season that many of you have already said is going to be very difficult because of the schedule, even though we don't really know how good some of those teams are going to actually be. We're only basing it off last year, right? I digress. I think there's some things to look at, some conversations to have as we go back and we kind of review what was the second week of preseason. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Season 2, A Giant Issue. I am Coach Gene Clemons, New York Giants on that side. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information from. Make sure that you go over there and check it out. Then pop back over here or stay right here. Hit that notification bell. Hit that subscribe bell. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hit it. If you're listening, wherever you get your podcast from, make sure that you share it with a friend. Make sure that you leave a comment. We want to hear from you. Comments are always great. You guys know I will engage. If you have something to say, I want to hear about it, and I want to talk to you about it. If I don't get to you, it's because A, I think it was probably redundant, or B, you said something that didn't really require a response. And if that happens, then okay, then let's just move on, right? I really do enjoy the fact that when you look at these first two games, right, the Bills game and the Jets game, that the Giants have not been afraid to turn the ball loose. Yesterday or week 2 preseason versus the Jets, the Giants passed the ball 38 times for 398 yards. That means if you take away the 80-yard pass from Russell Wilson, they still threw for over 300 yards, 318 to be exact. That is something to be applauded. Absolutely. It's something to be applauded. If you look at the Bills game, a game that they won, right? A game that they won, they put up over 300 yards in that game, 317 yards, and 3 touchdown passes. Not as many touchdown passes in that Jet game. Only 1 touchdown pass, but quarterbacks did run into other touchdowns. So 3 touchdowns that are accounted to quarterbacks. But wait, there's more. Because in that Buffalo Bills game, they threw 51 passes. So for me, I want people to know that the Bills game was an inefficient 300 yards. It was a 300 yards that didn't have a ton of explosives in it. This New York Giants versus the Jets, that 398 yards, that had all the explosives in it. Hit all the explosives. You don't believe me? I'll show you how. All you got to do is look at the receiving numbers, right? Look at the longs. 80 yards, 34 yards, 16 yards, 41 yards, 30 yards, 18 yards, 21 yards, 21 yards, 20, 12, 19, 11, 9. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, all of those receivers had at least 1 catch that went for 9 yards or more. That is impressive. Some of them, that was their only catch. That 1 catch, right? Bo Collins had 1 catch for 80 yards. Jordan Bly had 1 catch for 41 yards. Theo Johnson had 1 catch for 30 yards. right? Zach Pascal had, he had 2 catches. This is good. 2 catches. 18 yards was the longest, right? But Jermaine Terry had a 21-yarder. Jalen Hyatt had a 21-yarder. Great Dosage had a 20-yarder. Humphrey had a 12-yarder. Montreal Washington had a 19-yarder. That was his only catch. So all of these guys, and just to clean it up, LaJordan Humphrey did not only have 1 catch, he had 3 catches. He had 3 catches for 20 yards, but he had 1 for 12. But if you take him away, you take Zach Pascal away, you see all of the people that had 1 catch, and it was an explosive catch. I like to see this from the offense because it tells me we're not just settling for checkdowns. We're not just settling for the small plays. And therein is where I want to start this. And I want to tell you, I wanted to come right after, I wanted to get on right after the game yesterday. But if you guys remember what I told you, I have football games on Friday nights. And so I'm usually pretty hoarse. And if you remember last Saturday when I tried to go live after the game, the voice just was not holding up. And then people were like, hey, you look awful. Because I was on less sleep and my voice sounded horrible and y'all were ragging on me. I mean, in good fun. I think it was the big mood. In good fun, of course. And just so you guys know, this is Liquid Death. If you're watching, it's not like a beer or anything. So I wanted to have a chance for my voice to kind of get a little bounce back, have that elasticity take back over, and come and talk about this. But what Russell Wilson has done since he's been with the New York Giants is he's given Giants fans a reason to hope, right? Because the way he conducts himself is second to none. It is pro level of how to do the job, how to conduct business. He's been about this his entire life. It didn't just start. I remember when he transferred from NC State to Wisconsin. And when he transferred from NC State to Wisconsin, it was all like this. He immediately became like a leader of that team. And so that has carried him throughout his entire career, right? But if we're being honest about what we've seen when the lights come on, what we've seen when the whistles are blowing in real games, I don't understand how anyone can think this is an impressive Russell Wilson, right? I'll give you the 80-yard touchdown pass. It was a great throw. We all know that Russell Wilson will make those throws from time to time. But if you look closer, if you interrogate the numbers, if you look inside the game, and remember last week I came to you guys and said, hey, Russell Wilson's performance is making people think about Jackson Dart being the starter. If Russell Wilson was going out here and performing like Jackson Dart or like Jameis Winston, then we wouldn't be talking about Jackson Dart starting. We'd be talking about the convenience of not having to have Jackson Dart start because our starter was killing it. But that's not the case. And I'll show you why. The 80-yard touchdown pass was the first pass of the game for Russell Wilson. It was the first pass of the game for Russell Wilson. In the game versus the Buffalo Bills, he was 6 for 7, and he threw for 28 yards. Then the first game of the Jets game, first pass of the Jets game, he comes out, he throws the 80-yard pass. After that pass, he was 3 for 6 for 28 yards and an interception. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not going to inspire anyone. It's not going to inspire anyone. You cannot go You cannot go 9 for 13, 9 for 13 for 56 yards and an interception and tell me I shouldn't be looking at the quarterbacks who are completing high percentages and throwing touchdowns and throwing for way more yards. Because even when you add the 80 yards back into this, it's 138 yards. Sorry, 136 yards. No touchdowns and an interception. He's led one touchdown drive and a field goal drive. That's it. That's the extent of the offense. And in spite of that, in these 2 preseason games, the Giants have been able to put up 30 plus points. Why? Because the Giants defense has held teams out of the end zone for the most part early on, right? And with that, it allows the Giants many opportunities to get going. Well, those other quarterbacks are turning those into touchdown drives. Those other quarterbacks are turning those into points. Now, it might be against second teamers. It might be against third teamers, but they're playing with second and third teamers. So what's the difference? Put the person into the spot with the first teamers and see what they do. Now, I say all that to say I'm still in favor of Jackson Dart sitting this year because, again, he's not seeing anything overcomplicated. I think he has the thought process that he might be a little bit crash dummy ish, right? Willing to just go throw his body out there. Remember how that worked out for Daniel Jones early on in his career. So I think there's some things that he needs to learn. But I start to wonder, is Russell Wilson even the right person to be stacked on top of Jackson Dart? And I'm not going to go into Jameis Winston, but you guys know what I'm about to say. Jackson Dart plays a lot like Winston in this offense. When you see Dart come out there and do his thing, then he goes to the bench and Winston comes in. It looks similar, except one's white and a little bit more athletic, right? And the other one is like he has like these over-exaggerated facial expressions and motions that kind of make it look a little awkward until the ball leaves his hands, and then it looks beautiful. It looks absolutely beautiful. Jackson Dart throws a beautiful ball, right? Jameis Winston throws a phenomenally beautiful ball. He is the best arm talent on the team. I don't care what you guys are trying to tell me that I just like Winston so much. Cool. Go explain it to your mama. If you want to talk real football, I'm here for it. But those two guys play a similar style. Russell Wilson doesn't play that style. Right? I'm here to tell you that Jackson Dart's second performance was good, but not as good as his first performance to me because it was a lot of level 1 throws. It was a lot of level 1 throws, couple level 2 throws, but it was a lot of level 1 throws. It wasn't a lot of driving the ball down the field. And as such, because it was a lot of level 1 throws, not throwing the ball down the field, he completed 14 passes and he had 137 yards, which means that he averaged less than 10 yards a pass. And anytime you average less than 10 yards a pass, that's not good enough for me. I judge quarterbacks on their completion percentage the same way that you judge running backs on their yards per carry. Not completion percentage, excuse me, on their yards per completion, the same way that you judge running backs on their yards per rush, right? A lot of people will look at a running back and go, oh, well, he's under 4 yards a carry. They don't care what he had to go through to get that 3.8 yards a carry. They just know that he's under 4 yards a carry. They'll look at a running back that's over 4 yards a carry and go, oh, he's getting it done. And they'll eliminate, and they'll not even consider the fact that he had a 50-yard run and then everything else was like 2 and 3 yards. And that's why he's over 4 yards a carry, right? So there's all of these factors that go into it. But for me, I believe, this is just me, that the successful quarterbacks find a way to complete each pass on an average basis for more than a first down. Jameis Winston was at 10. Russell Wilson was at 15. We all know why. Tommy DeVito was at 13. We all know why. Right? So, like, that's my line of demarcation. So even though I thought Jackson Dart had a good game, right? Even though I thought he had a good game, it could have been better. There were some things out there, right? So I'm in favor of Jackson Dart sitting. What I'm telling you is that Russell Wilson has opened up the competition. This isn't what Jackson Dart has done more than it's what Russell Wilson has not done. And you need to look no further for the reason why Russell Wilson could get usurped by Jackson Dart this year than Russell Wilson in the preseason, his rookie year. This was something that happened for Russell Wilson in his rookie year when he was up against, I believe, Matt Flynn. I could be wrong about who the incumbent was. But they didn't draft Russell Wilson to start Russell Wilson. But when Russell Wilson went out there in the preseason, he just kept making plays. When he went out there in the preseason, he just kept making things happen to the point where someone went, hey, we've got no other choice. Like, he looks too good for us to be out here taking the chance with this other guy. He's our future. Let's make him our present. And the rest is history. So do I see a scenario where Jackson Dart, after this next preseason game, if he puts together another good performance and Russell Wilson either doesn't play or has another one of those performances where it looks, do I think there's a chance that somebody can go sit down somewhere and go, let's roll a dice with the rookie? Because they could always go back to a veteran. They've got 2 of them, and both of them we know can comport themselves as starters. So this is what Russell Wilson has bred by him not looking as sharp, by him not looking as twitchy, by him not driving the ball deep more often, except for that one deep pass, the 80-yarder, right? Look at the other stats. They're out there for you. 3 for 6 after that 80-yard pass, 6 for 7, 28 yards. Before that 3 for 6 and 28 yards after it came with a pick. I'm not making this thing up because I'm not rooting for Jackson Dart to start. I'm just saying that when Russell Wilson performs as he's performed and Jackson Dart performs as he performed, you kind of have no other choice but to say, hey, there's a conversation to be had. And there's a bigger conversation to be had because nobody wants to talk about how Jameis Winston has performed. And he hasn't even been given an opportunity to compete for this job, right? So the quarterback room's in a good space. And it's unfortunate for a guy like Tommy DeVito because you can tell that he's been in this offense for 3 years. He knows it so well. He's really done a great job of building himself in this program. But they're not keeping Tommy DeVito if they keep Jameis Winston. They're not keeping Tommy DeVito if Russell Wilson is the starter and Jameis Winston's on this team. They're not going to keep 4 quarterbacks. And Tommy DeVito's never going to clear waivers. Why? Because he's been impressive. And if you look around the league, there are some terrible backups out here. Nathan Peterman is still making money. Nathan Peterman, who should have never been a pro, got a chance to be a starter in this league, has been terrible every single time he started, and yet he's still kicking around the league. There are bad backups and number 3 quarterbacks sprinkled all around the NFL. Tommy DeVito is not a bad backup or number 3 quarterback. So he's going to find a job the moment the Giants cut him. Simple and plain. But it's interesting to see how this thing plays out because Russell Wilson has done this to himself. Speaking of Jackson Dart, why are all you guys so heavy on Josina Anderson? You know she's never said anything about Jackson Dart negative. She talked about the Giants organization because she said, hey, you're up, Giants, when Shedeur Sanders had the best week of any rookie last week. And by the way, that's undoubted. It was the best week of any rookie. He was the only one that went up against the first team. Right? When Jackson Dart came in, he was not going up against first teamers. And if he did, it was maybe for this much. And we know that the first series, he didn't do much. It wasn't until he started cranking against the twos. Now, right? Shedeur Sanders was cranking. I don't know, I might say Jameson Hood. Shedeur Sanders, he was really dealing, but he went up against the ones and he had more touchdowns. Right? And we can't just reinvent the wheel. But Josina Anderson never said anything about Jackson Dart. So why are you guys coming at her saying, hey, I didn't hear you say anything about Jackson Dart this week? Y'all don't even know how to have beef right. If your beef is with Josina, then you should be saying, hey, are you still worried about our move? How did you like that move? That's 2 great moves in a row, meaning week 1 and week 2, where Jackson Dart has performed well. Why are y'all asking her if she has something to say about Jackson Dart? It's weird. Learn how to have beef. You're New York, for Christ's sake. I thought New York was the home of beef. New Yorkers, I'm going to need you guys to be better. And maybe it's a lot of Jersey in there. Maybe my Jersey brethren and sisters don't really understand how to beef no more. But I'm from Patterson, so we know how to beef in Patterson. And I ain't from the gentrified Patterson either. I'm from the Patterson that people used to be afraid to go to. Right? So I don't know why you guys are so hit on Josina Anderson. She's going to be found to be right or wrong in due time. It's not going to happen this year. Not if Jackson Dart's not playing. Jackson Dart's career is going to define whether or not Josina Anderson is correct. The same way that Shedeur Sanders' career is going to define whether or not Josina Anderson is correct. That's it. In petty news, right? Are any of you concerned that the big 3 have not had a sack yet? If you don't know what the big 3 is, it's Burns, it's Thibodeau, it's the Thanos of defensive ends or edge rushers, Abdul Carter, right? I'm gonna tell you one thing that's gonna happen. I'm predicting it now. You guys are going to OD on Abdul Carter so much that it's going to make me have to counterbalance the over ridiculousness about Abdul Carter with reality and with facts. I don't like it. I've never really been heavy on the glazing. Right? I can admit, y'all say I'm glazing for Jameis Winston. But I can admit the faults of Winston and why he finds himself in the position that he's in. Right? So I just keep telling y'all to calm down on the Abdul Carter thing. But I do find it interesting that Burns, Thibodeau, Carter, nobody has a sack. There's only 2 sacks this preseason, and both of them are by backup nose guards. Both of them are by backup nose guards. I don't know what that says. I feel like it says something. Right? I feel like it says something because Buffalo was throwing the ball. Right? And the Jets didn't throw it as much, but they did throw it. And we're getting pressures, but we're not getting sacks. And you guys told me sacks matter. You guys said y'all don't care about pressures as much. So are you concerned that 2 preseason games in, our much ballyhooed defensive line has not produced a sack with the first unit? Is it just that Dexter Lawrence is out? Because I'm going to tell you, I do believe that Dexter Lawrence being out is hurting the run defense. It should not hurt the pass rush. Because you can put all 3 of them dudes on the field at the same time. You've done it. And there's still no sacks. So, which is it? Also, I gotta tell people who love Abdul Carter to not be so sensitive. Right? Tell him to not be so sensitive. Because he was coming and the tight end in the game chipped him, knocked him off his feet. Then he got a little extra business from the tackle. And they posted it. And of course it was posted. Right? Of course it was posted. And he came back with you guys, it'll probably be the only highlights you have all year. Nah, Abdul Carter. No, sir. Can't do that. Can't do that. Your team is as bad as the Jets. Last year, you were worse. The year before that, you were worse. Don't tell me, hey, the last time that the Jets went to the playoffs or the last time that the Jets had a Super Bowl party. Nah, we ain't doing that. The Jets have been bad. The Giants have been bad. So trying to make fun of the Jets as if they're going to be bad when you've been bad and you have what a lot of people believe is the hardest schedule in the NFL, maybe, just maybe, we want to just let that pass by. Because if people think that Abdul Carter is sensitive, they'll just start ribbing at him. They'll just start throwing darts at him. They'll just start trying to shoot at him. That wasn't a reason to get upset. It happened. Yeah, you got me. That's what I would have said. Hey, you got me. Our team lost, my high school team, we lost this past Friday. We're brand new. It's a rebuild. Proud of their effort. But we posted a video on our Instagram of us getting off the bus to go to the game. And underneath it, one of the opponent's players posted the score, 22-12. Now, in my belief, we left multiple touchdowns on the board. In fact, we had one call back for an illegal crackback. We had 2 called back for holding. We had a scoop and score touchdown on defense nullified because of an inadvertent whistle that gave them the ball back. We have a small number. We were cramping. We had 3 dropped passes that could have been touchdowns. All of that, and it was 22-12, and the 22 was only in the last few minutes of the game. Did I go in there and shoot back at? No. I said, congratulations. You know why? Because a win is a win. And when you get the victory, you get to talk. So if you win a rep, if you do something to someone and it's positive, then you get the right to brag about it. And the other person just needs to eat it, get back in the lab, and make sure that doesn't happen again. And that's what I would tell Abdul Carter to do. Get back in the lab and make sure it doesn't happen again. Because all the rest of this is just, it just looks sensitive. It looks soft for no reason. And I know that everybody wants football or athletics to care about players' mental health. But here's the truth that nobody wants to admit anymore. In order to play athletics, you have to be mentally strong. You have to be mentally tough. You have to have a good check of your emotions. If you don't, then you don't end up being great in sports. And so Abdul Carter is going to be great, but he has to learn how to just put the blinders on when people have negative things to say. That's going to help him in the short term, and it's going to help him throughout his career. When they rocking with you, they're going to all love you and prop you up and say that you're Thanos. When they're not rocking with you, they're going to tell you you're overrated. They're going to tell you you're a one-trick pony. They're going to say you're not worth the money. They're going to do all of the things. And you have to look no further than the people on your team to see that. I wish him nothing but the best. And I wish you Giants fans nothing but the best as we go into week 3. It's going to be a good week. Back on Thursday this week for the 3rd and final preseason game. It's going to be big. There's going to be a lot of hard decisions that have to be made at wide receiver. It's hard decisions that are going to have to be made at quarterback. There's hard decisions that are going to have to be made at running back. Shout out to Turbo Miller. There may be hard decisions that have to be made on the offensive line. Did y'all see how good Zudu looked playing at guard as opposed to tackle? You saw how good Evan Neal looked, even though PFF rated him super low for some ridiculous reason. Don't know what the heck they think. PFF is the worst. Marcus Bowe, right? Hudson. I think there's one cut that I know will likely happen on the offensive line. Where else, right? Where else? There's going to be interesting decisions to be made on the defensive line. It's going to be interesting decisions to be made in the secondary. Linebacker, we kind of pretty much know what it's going to look like. Hey, shout out to Turbo Miller again. I just like the spirit of the young man and what he's been doing since he's been here. He is giving himself every opportunity to be successful and make this team. Every opportunity. And that's what you love to see. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have. New York Giants on SI. Make sure you go over there and get all of your news, information. Get it. Hold on to it, right? Check it out. All of the stuff after post games. All of the different things we do about the game leading up to the next game, player profiles, statistical analysis, video breakdowns, the works. You're going to find it over there, right? Then come right back over here. Holler at me at a giant issue. Paul Dottino with the Big Blue Breakdown. We're here for you. We're here to give it to you. And remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to your podcast, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcast, and Apple Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else that you get your podcasts. Or for some reason, my brain just froze right there. Until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue.